Somewhere in prehistory, a human sat beside a fire and accidentally changed the future. The fire had almost certainly started the same way many others had. A lightning strike, a burning branch, a grassland set ablaze. Nothing unusual. But something strange happened when certain plants burned. The smoke smelled different. It felt different. And at some point, someone did something no animal had ever turned into a global habit. They inhaled it. Not by accident, on purpose. That moment left no fossil, no written record, no name. Yet it may have changed more lives than most kings in history. Humans have lived with fire for hundreds of thousands of years. Archaeological evidence suggests controlled fire may go back at least 400,000 years, and possibly much earlier. Fire cooked food, scared away predators, extended the day into the night. It became humanity's greatest tool, but fire also created something new: smoke. For most animals, smoke means danger. Run away, get out, survive. Humans reacted differently. We stared into it, experimented with it, played with it. That curiosity has always been one of our defining traits. The psychologist Michael Tomasello argues that human success comes partly from our unusual ability to learn from and imitate one another. One discovery becomes a shared discovery. One experiment becomes culture. And somewhere along the way, smoke became more than smoke. Long before tobacco, humans were burning plants for rituals. Ancient communities across multiple continents burned herbs, resins, and leaves during ceremonies. The smoke was believed to carry prayers, ward off spirits, connect people to the supernatural. Why did so many cultures independently associate smoke with something beyond ordinary life? Part of the answer may lie inside the human brain. Certain plants contain chemicals that affect perception, mood, and awareness. When burned and inhaled, those chemicals travel into the bloodstream through the lungs. The effects can arrive surprisingly quickly. To ancient people, that must have felt like magic. Imagine inhaling smoke from a special plant and suddenly feeling calmer, or more alert, or detached from ordinary reality. How would you explain that without chemistry? You wouldn't. You would call it spiritual, sacred, divine. Then came tobacco. The tobacco plant evolved long before humans ever existed. It belonged to the genus Nicotiana. For millions of years, nicotine served a simple purpose: defense. Nicotine is a natural insecticide. The plant evolved it to discourage insects from eating its leaves. But evolution had no idea humans were coming, and humans discovered something insects never did. In small doses, nicotine affects the brain in a very different way. It stimulates reward pathways. It sharpens attention. It creates feelings that many people find pleasurable. The first people known to use tobacco lived in the Americas thousands of years ago. Archaeological evidence suggests tobacco use may date back more than 12,000 years. That makes smoking older than writing, older than cities, older than most of recorded history. Think about that for a moment. Humans were inhaling tobacco smoke long before they built the pyramids, long before they invented money, long before they created empires. Tobacco was already part of human life. Why did it spread? Because it offered something valuable. Not food, not shelter, an experience. And humans have always chased experiences. Some tobacco was smoked, some was chewed, some was used in religious ceremonies, some was used in diplomacy. Among many indigenous cultures, tobacco carried deep spiritual significance. It was not merely a recreational product. It was woven into culture itself. Then history changed course. In 1492, Christopher Columbus arrived in the Americas. His crew observed indigenous people using tobacco. At first, Europeans were confused, then fascinated, then obsessed. Tobacco crossed the Atlantic, and from there it conquered the world. Within a few centuries, tobacco spread across Europe, Asia, Africa, and the Middle East. Few plants in history have traveled so far so quickly. Why? Because nicotine had found a new host, the human brain. The neuroscientist Eric Kandel helped reveal how experiences reshape neural pathways. Nicotine takes advantage of those pathways. It interacts with receptors involved in learning, reward, and habit formation. The brain begins to remember, and then it begins to want. That is where the story becomes darker. The first human who inhaled smoke could not have known what nicotine was. They could not know about receptors, or dopamine, or addiction. They only knew how it felt. And feelings can be powerful teachers. Over time, smoking transformed from ritual to business, then from business to industry. Factories produced cigarettes by the billions. Advertising campaigns turned smoking into status. Movies made it look sophisticated. Doctors once appeared in cigarette advertisements. The habit that began around ancient fires became a global machine. By the 20th century, billions of people smoked. Then scientists uncovered the cost. Researchers linked smoking to lung cancer, heart disease, stroke, and other illnesses. The evidence became overwhelming. One of the most influential figures was Richard Doll, whose studies helped establish the connection between smoking and lung cancer. The discovery shocked the world. The same habit that offered pleasure was also causing enormous harm. How could something feel so good and be so dangerous? Because evolution never prepared humans for industrial-scale nicotine. Our ancestors encountered tobacco in limited contexts. Modern industry multiplied exposure beyond anything nature intended. The result was predictable: addiction on a global scale, yet smoking never disappeared. Why? Because the story was never only about tobacco, it was about human curiosity. The same curiosity that created science, the same curiosity that crossed oceans, the same curiosity that built civilizations. Humans experiment. Sometimes the experiment changes history, sometimes it changes the world, and sometimes it changes the human brain itself. The first person who inhaled smoke was not trying to create a global industry. They were not trying to start an addiction. They were probably just curious. But curiosity can be one of the most powerful forces on Earth. A single question can reshape a civilization. A single experiment can echo for thousands of years. And somewhere in the distant past, beside a fire that has long since turned to ash, a human took a breath. That breath traveled through history, and billions of people are still living with the consequences.